Hello, my friends, and I wish you a very, very warm welcome. My name is Mr. Dilly, and in today's show, we're celebrating National Storytelling Week 2026, and this year's theme, Speaking Stories into Darkness. So, welcome to Mr. Dilly Meets Dragons, Worlds, and Story Magic. So, what have we got coming up for you all today? Well, two live guests in the studio today. We have the brilliant Lucy Strange and the wonderful Tom Moorhouse in the studio. They'll be chatting about their own stories and also giving a few small tips about how you can create your own in your classroom there. Also, we have a draw along with Thiago de Moraes, and that's finding a different way into stories. So sometimes people find it difficult writing. Maybe you're better at drawing. So he's going to do a bit of monster drawing for you. And that might give you some inspiration to kind of create your own stories around that particular creature you've created. And lastly, we have Kieran Larwood with a pre-recorded draw along, pre-recorded map making kind of thing. So sometimes drawing a map can really help plan your world and create stories for you. So all that is coming up in the show. So, okay, so let's kick in. And we're going to start with Lucy and Tom and an author panel chat and your questions coming up now. So I'm going to play this afterwards. By magic, Lucy and Tom will be on the screen. I know. Here we go. So here we have Lucy Strange. Round of applause for Lucy Strange, please. Fantastic. We have Tom Moorhouse. A round of applause for Tom Moorhouse. Give us a big hello, both of you. Big hello.
Hi.
Hello. Okay, lovely to have you with us today. Okay, so we've got a few school questions for you coming up. So we're going to put these on the screen and we're going to sort of go through these. By the way, for all of the schools that sent in the questions, can't put them all up there, but thanks very much anyway. And we'll try and get through as many as we can today. We're going to start, however, not a school question, but an actual question related to this year's National Storytelling Week theme. So here we go. When you hear Speaking Stories into Darkness, what does that mean to you as a storyteller, do you think? So, Lucy, any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I love it because it's actually a big part of my philosophy as a children's writer. I believe that we actually have a responsibility as storytellers for children, that no matter how dark or dangerous or sad the story is that we're telling, that there should always be hope. I do feel like that's a real responsibility. So, and it's something that I believe needs to be there in all the stories that I write, and it's something I look for in stories that I read as well.
Yeah, I'd agree. Tom, what about you? Same sort of thing or a bit different?
I agree entirely with what Lucy said, but I'm going to take a slightly different approach to this and say that when you're telling a story, what you're doing is you're taking a bunch of stuff that's inside you and you're putting it out there to see if anybody else feels the same way, if they have had the same experiences. And so what you're really doing is you don't know how it's going to be received. All you can do is say, this is how the world looks to me. This is how it feels. Do you agree with me? And what you're hoping for is for the darkness to say, yeah, absolutely, I get that, and sort of respond in some way.
That's great. Great answers. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we got the first school question. And it actually sort of relates oddly to what both of you just sort of said in a kind of roundabout way. So this is from Watsievi Primary School in Rotherham. Thank you for your question. How important is it to your mental health to get stuck in a good book? Any thoughts? So Lucy.
Yeah, it's really important, and it's something that sometimes life gets a bit busy, a bit crazy, and you're a bit too tired, and you get to that point of the day where you've got a chance to read, but you're so tired, your eyes just kind of slide over the words and nothing goes in. And that we all have times like that in our lives. But when we do have that little bit of time, that little bit of energy to actually really enjoy reading, it gives me so much, and it reminds me of how much I miss it when it's not there. So it's something that I really actively try to make space for and make time for. And make sure I've got a little bit of energy for, because it's a kind of meditation, isn't it? In a way, like I don't know, it focuses and calms and quiets your mind, as you just kind of everything else falls away.
But it's that kind of bit of which I've said in previous shows and we all relate to is like, I feel like that as well. Yeah. Someone else felt like that, and that's what's wonderful about it, that connection.
Yeah.
So, Tom, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I used to read as pure escapism when I was a kid. It was just, book after book after book. My mum basically just found any book she thought I'd like and give them to me, and I'd eat them. Essentially, I mean, I'd read them first, then I'd eat them. But it was, it's just a chance to zone out and be somewhere completely different with just stuff that is going to be a little bit challenging, but ultimately safe, and it's just going to take you on the journey, and you're just going to sit there and enjoy it. And it's time for you that nothing else can get to you. It's just that period.
Yeah,
and
just kind of focus on that. It's lovely, isn't it? And
you kind of in on that, everything else goes away.
Yeah, and they sort of don't. Your heart rate goes down, doesn't it? You kind of like all the sort of stress goes. It's an incredible thing. Okay, here we go. So this is from I think this is a sort of home education place. So English with Joanne in Merseyside. So thank you very much. If you could create, build another world, a new world for a story, what would it be like? Excuse me, without giving away. Lucy, so another new world for a story. What would it be like? Because so I want to know. What do you think?
I'm going to completely sort of shirk this question, because I don't tend to create new worlds. I think we've got another guest who might be able to help us out with this one. But I find that idea of like creating a blank page, creating a universe from scratch, I find that really intimidating. And what I love to do as a storyteller is I like to take the real world. I like to take often I build the worlds of my stories, the stories themselves from settings, from real places. Yeah. And I love my stories to feel completely familiar and real. And then I bring a little element of mythology or magic or something supernatural or a ghost, or that kind of creeps in, sort of seeps in. And that's for me what kind of wakes up my real world setting. And that's what I love to do with my style of storytelling. But I have
a really good thing. Yeah, it's a really good thing. Actually, we've probably got a couple of questions about that a bit later on. But that sort of bit, I'm just thinking about children writing their own stories and stuff. Is that looking at something that is real, even their everyday life, and then something else sort of creeps in on the edges, which is quite amazing. Tom, what about yourself?
So I kind of do the reverse of that. I used to write animal fantasy books, which are kind of where it is actually the real world. It's just not the real world that humans live in. It's the real world that animals live in. And but I've always wanted to write fantasy books where there is a fantasy world and you do build that world. And the whole point of that world is that it's dangerous. But it's dangerous within weird limits. So you're dangerous, but you know that bad stuff can happen, but you kind of assured that if everyone plays by the rules, then it'll probably turn out okay. And so it's like an adventure world. And I think this is really important because it allows you to really test characters in a way, and they feel the danger. But you as the reader can sort of read it knowing that this stuff is probably never going to happen to you. And so you can really put people in quite unpleasant situations, knowing that they're probably going to be all right. And as a reader, you can just enjoy it because, you're not going to get chased by a pack of wolves or whatever it is that happens.
Well, you say that. But the other day,
walking down the street in Abingdon.
Exactly. I went out to get some milk, and that's another story.
You've never been.
Okay, so this is again this kind of relates to a little bit about you both said, but also once again to sort of kickstart children's own kind of storytelling in their classroom. I'm sure they've obviously all written kind of stuff before, but maybe after the show today. So, what's one small storytelling trick? It's not a trick's probably the wrong word. That children can try today to make a story more powerful, like a sentence starter, a detail, or a technique. Any kind of thought, something they could just sort of jump in with after the show and go, okay, I'll try that. So Tom, let's go back to the other way around. Tom.
I think that there's always a temptation to try and tell people how your characters are feeling.
Yeah. And
it's far better to let them tell you how they're feeling. So if you have a character and they're talking to another one, then you show how they're feeling by how they're talking to each other, what they're saying. Because that's the way that we communicate with each other. And so rather than saying so-and-so felt terrible, they felt sad, they felt this, you have them saying something that reveals exactly how they're feeling. And then you engage with that a lot more. And so generally speaking, the more talking to each other you can have your characters doing, the more you learn who they are and the more you engage with them. And I think that makes everything powerful, because then you engage with those characters. Whatever happens to them feels more real.
Yeah, that's a great bit of advice there. You could actually just start with an argument or something that gets you right in
Yeah,
there. Those characters
absolutely.
talking to each other straight off. Lucy, anything you thought about that?
Yeah, I think, well, the books that I'm going to be talking about a little bit later on are inspired by real bits of history. And I think actually, when you're starting with that blank page, I think having a real little nugget of history, something that actually happened, or something that a tiny thing, doesn't need to be like a whole big epic kind of period of history, like one little thing that happened to one person, something true in history, and that little nugget of truth can give you a fantastic start for a story. You can step into the shoes of that person and live that moment, and I think it can give you a whole backdrop. There's a whole world there's things that are happening already, and you just kind of place your characters on that stage set. It's a wonderful way in, so you don't really feel like you're starting from scratch. And then, of course, with historical fiction, we add our imaginations to it. We fictionalize these nuggets of truth, and we make them feel real. We bring them to life. We kind of freshen them up with our own imaginations. So I think that's my tip: a nugget of truth, a nugget of history that excites and interests.
Both good starters there, aren't there? Because the thing is, like with the history thing, is obviously you one is not going too far, but you can sort of read descriptions of that period, what it looked like, what people dressed like, the whole thing, and you got it all there. And as you said, then you can just add your imagination to it, which is great. And then you combine it with Tom's advice and get straight into a character talking to another character. Off you go, kids. Look at this. This is great. Okay, here we go. So this is another school question. St. John Fisher Catholic College, Newcastle under Lyme. I just want to say St. John Fisher Catholic College always send questions in. I can't thank you enough for sending them in. So that's great. So thank you very much for that. What was your favorite magical story as a child or a young adult, Tom?
Oh, really tricky. Because I basically read nothing else. So when I was younger, it was Enid Blyton, which still has some credibility. But then went up through The Dark is Rising, and I think just anything by Terry Pratchett, just absolutely amazing. And as a young adult, anything by Neil Gaiman was all of these books. Anything that I could produce a list, but it would take a very long time. But I didn't. What you're getting is I didn't have a favorite. I had a smorgasbord of stuff that I just absolutely loved, and I think that's what you got to do. Is you just got to read a whole bunch of it and find the one that really engages you.
That's brilliant, Lucy.
Yeah, I like Tom. I loved. I suppose the Enid Blyton books. My son still listens. He's got a lovely audiobook of The Enchanted Wood and the Magic Faraway Tree, and I do think there's a real charm and a magic to that. The idea of this nature as this portal to other worlds, and these, and I think that perhaps of all her books is perhaps as dated the best in a way, with a few modifications here and there. So those, and then a little bit later on, I got really into Terry Pratchett, the Discworld books, but particularly, I think the Terry Pratchett books that I highly recommend for children are the Tiffany Aching ones, the We Free Men series, and they are so beautiful and so brilliant. And they've got his wit and his humor, but this incredible universe that he's created, and those ones I highly recommend. They're fabulous.
That's fantastic. Okay, we've got a couple of very quick questions, if that's okay. So let's go to here we go. So Lucy Fields, primary school, Godalming. What inspires you to write, and where do the stories come from? So this has got to be sort of quick answers. That's kind of a I know. I don't know. We kind of do this. Okay. So, Lucy, what inspired you to write?
Yeah.
Where do the stories come from?
Where do the stories come from? In a nutshell, everywhere and everything. So for me, particularly places, settings. For me, I feel like there are old buildings, places in nature. I feel like there are stories in the stones, like stories whispering, stories waiting to be told. That's it. For me, a lot of my stories begin with a place, but also anything and everything else. The stories that I read, the music I listen to, the conversations I have, anything and everything can feed into those stories.
That's brilliant. It's all kind of, yeah, it's all kind of lurking there, waiting to be told, and it's brilliant. So, Tom, what about you?
So in terms of what inspires me to write, I think that writing is actually a disease. That, you know, it's like a compulsion.
You've got a disease.
You just got to sit there and just got to go. If you haven't written something, I'm not going to be well. I need to get some words out, then I'll be okay.
Yeah, but it's quite therapeutic, isn't it? Right, you know, right. Just writing
very
how you're
therapeutic.
feeling at that moment.
Yeah.
You get it out and you kind of read it and you go, oh, you know, it's quite
yeah.
good. So it's quite
Or you
encouraging.
go, oh, that's terrible. But you know what? There might be something in these 2 lines here that I can keep, or, you know, but just the act of having done it, self-expression is just amazing. And the stories, I mean, the stories get, as Lucy said, they come from all sorts of places. I mean, my last one, I have no idea where it came from. I just had a vision of a scene in my head. And I thought, that looks like the end of a book. And I mean, I can talk about this more later, and then I just thought, okay, well, I've got to write the story that leads up to this scene. I had no idea where it came from. It might have been a dream. It might have just been a random thought on a Tuesday afternoon, but I just had this picture in my head and thought, oh, there's a story there.
That's amazing. Okay, bit of fun to finish with on our author panel today. Now, before I put it up, that Tom, you've already kind of maybe answered this question, because the word of the day, which not many people get into Mr Dilly Meets, is smorgasbord, which you put in there. Okay, but let's have this one. Here we go. Redwood Primary School, Wellingborough. Thank you for your question. What is the easy one? What is your utmost favourite word of all time, and why? Have a think about this in your classroom as kids. You know, but that's like impossible, isn't it? But you know, maybe one pops in your head. You know, any thoughts, Lucy?
Oh gosh, do you know, I think part of the reason I'm a writer is just because I love words so much and playing with words. And so it's very hard. It's very hard for me to choose a favorite. But let's pick a favorite of the day. Let's have shenanigans.
Oh, I like that. Shenanigans.
What sort of shenanigans are happening at the back of the classroom there? Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. Okay, just to say, Sean, if you are going to do some writing, this is teachers as well. See if you can write a story that has the word shenanigans in it. Tom's earlier one, smorgasbord. If you don't know what they mean, then your teacher will help you. And then Tom's now got to come up with another one, which is quite simple. Tom, have you got another one?
Dissimulation.
Ooh.
Dissimulation. Wow, that's a hard one. Okay, you're really going to have to look up to that. Right. Don't worry if you misspell it. Write it. You make your own words, make your own story, make your own language. You know, Tolkien did it. You can do it. That's fantastic. Okay, so listen, thank you very much for all your questions. We are now going to put an end to the author panel. We're going to say goodbye to Lucy, speak to Tom, and then more from Lucy later on, and Tom and Lucy together in our kind of guess the story. We have a class quiz coming up later on as well. But for now, it's the say goodbye to Lucy. Tom's staying with us, and end of our author panel. Thanks, Lucy. See you in a bit. Thank you. Okay, Tom, it's just me and thee. Okay, so Tom, your book, the one we'll be talking about first of all, you can see it in the background here, is Where the Dragon Waits. So in a kind of a, I'm not going to time you, but in a sort of a 30-second kind of, you know, pitch for your book, tell us about what this is about and the characters and all the rest of it. So I'm going to hand over to you. Give us a quick jump into Where the Dragon Waits. Here we go.
Right, so Where the Dragon Waits is the story of Ed, who's out on the boat with his dad. He's gone sailing, and they have a terrible boat accident caused by an old lady in a powerboat. And when he wakes up, he finds himself on a beach he's never been on before, next to a girl he's never met before. And he very quickly realizes he's being chased by a load of butterflies that seem to want to do very bad things to him. And so they have to flee off the beach, climb up some cliffs. They end up in a strange realm where they meet an armored pangolin who tells them that the only way they're going to get home is to find a dragon who lives at the top of an impossibly tall spire. And it's the story of whether they get to the top of that spire and whether they get home and what happens afterwards. That's
brilliant. Look at that good pitch there, Tom. Very, very good. Okay, so This Strange World.
Yeah.
When you were writing, you mentioned earlier, just with Lucy there, about, you know, you I don't know if it was this book, but you sort of wrote, you thought the end of a book and then you kind of went backwards.
Yeah.
When you were creating this world, was there a moment, and I'm sure this is the same for anyone who writes anything, you sort of like writing, you think, what's going on here? What's this about? And then something, you know, clicks and you go, Yeah. This makes sense. Was there a moment for the world when you thought that this works now, this is alive now, this world, this kind of works now? Was there a particular moment that kind of hit you for that?
It's more like it comes into focus, I think. It's so I knew that he had to end up in a different world, and I had an idea of what that world would be and what it would represent. And I can talk more about that. But I actually reread some of the early stuff I wrote on the book, and it was very different. It had a very different tone, and it was a bit too funny, and the characters weren't taking it very seriously. And so I'd sort of started downplaying that. And then as soon as that started to feel right and the characters were taking it a bit more seriously, then strange things were happening. And there was a sense of menace, but also lightheartedness to it. And I thought, okay, that's where I want this world to be. And that's when I knew that I could kind of keep going forwards. And the rest of the stuff then started just kind of piling itself in there.
That's brilliant. You mentioned a little bit of this at the beginning. So obviously National Storytelling Week theme, speaking stories into darkness. So linking to the theme today with this particular book, obviously in all books, like all of us in our lives, you know, daily, really, we kind of face the unknown in some way, either small ways or big ways. And in this book, of course, your characters are facing unknown situations as well. What do you think the stories can do for all of us in those sort of dark moments? And when I say dark moments, I mean, you know, the unknown is dark, isn't it? Because we can't see it.
Absolutely.
So what do you think your characters kind of do, and how do they face that in your story?
So I think that, I mean, my characters end up in a pretty bad situation. It's clearly life-threatening, and they are at opposite ends of a spectrum. One of them is very brash and gung-ho and kind of, right, we're going to do this, we're going to get on with it. And the other one's quite quiet, but quite solid. And Ed has basically got to learn to sort of live a bit. And Steph, who's the sort of brash gung-ho character, has to learn to kind of feel a bit. And so the two of them are on very separate, very different arcs, and then they kind of finally sort themselves out. So for me, a story is all about what happens to a character and their way of seeing the world, and how their actions show who they are. And once they prove something to themselves and maybe to the world that they're in, then they can get what they want in some way. But it's never quite what they want. And so it's a kind of, how do I put this?
It's like a sort of a tug of war. In that sort of sense.
There's a tension where you've got to be challenged, but the idea is that if you meet that challenge and you're honest with yourself about how you're going to meet it, then you'll go forwards and develop, and that'll be the right way of doing things.
Just like in life, isn't it? Just like in life, in that sense.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a school question for you, Tom, and then we're going to give us a little reading from Where the Dragon Waits. Okay, so school question. Cop Lane CV Primary School, Penwortham, is that correct? Thank you for your question. Did you always want to be an author?
Yes, I think so. I mean, always is tricky because, you know, I'm 49 years old. So, but I remember when I was 10 years old at school, doing a piece of creative writing. I always loved that. And my teacher read it out in front of the whole class and said, you know, this could be taken from a book. And I thought, ooh, you know, maybe I could be good at this. And, you know, in my early 20s, I sat down and tried to write a book, but I didn't get anywhere with it. And then when I got to 30, I thought, right, I'm going to start writing stories and start writing short stories and try to be good at this, whatever being good at writing means. And I just wrote and wrote and wrote for 4 years and eventually got published. And so, yeah, so for a very, very, very long period of time, I've wanted to be an author and I've worked at it.
No, that's brilliant. Okay, so with your latest book, Tom, if you can give us a little excerpt from that, so that's great. So I'll hand over to you for that. So this is Tom, a little snippet from Where the Dragon Waits.
So Where the Dragon Waits. So this is an excerpt where Ed and Steph they're coming up to a bridge and they're about to meet somebody who's going to end up as their companion on their journey. The gateway was guarded by high pillars. On one of them, someone had placed a huge metal ball twice as wide as Ed was tall. It was grey-black and rusted and carved with intricate spiral patterns. Steph smiled. Now we're talking. Wait, said Ed. The masonry was crumbling and ivy clung to the bridge's sides. Is it safe? How old is it? If it's still standing, we're not going to trouble it. and Steph strode forwards. Ed hesitated, then joined her. See? No problem, said Steph as they crossed. It's solid as a... A grinding noise echoed down the bridge. The stones vibrated. Ed stopped dead. The sound ceased, and then they heard a rumble, followed by a metallic squeal like the brakes on a truck. Move, move, said Steph, making to run forwards. Let's get off this thing. Wait, it's not the bridge, Ed shouted. It's that. The giant metal ball was trembling. It quaked and rocked atop its pedestal. The carved patterns on its side cracked open. They became fissures, revealing brighter metal. And then, with a snap and a groan of tortured steel, the ball collapsed. It toppled from its pedestal and smashed down onto the bridge. Oh, nuts, breathed Steph. They stood, horribly exposed in the center of the bridge. For long moments, the metal shape lay where it had fallen. Then, protesting and squeaking, it uncoiled like a fern frond. It unwound and elongated. It sprouted 4 thick legs and a snouty head. And soon it had transformed itself into a gigantic iron creature. It lay on its back across the gateway, and its legs pawed at the air. Its eyes opened, swiveled, and fixed on Ed and Steph. Ed barely breathed. Steph flexed her fingers. The creature opened its mouth. Ouch, it said.
There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, so Tom, stay with us. We're going to bring Lucy back. Classroom, get ready, because we're now going to play a little bit of a game all together as we play. Okay, fancy titles there. Pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to explain how we're going to play this. It's quite simple. So in your classrooms, all you got to do, you can do this by just sitting in your chairs. Make it a little bit easier for yourselves. If you've probably got someone next to you. Maybe you're sitting on a table and there's 3 of you. So you can play like with 2 of you together, 3 of you together, 4 of you together, whatever you want. Okay. So what we're going to do is here, we've got 8 clues. Okay. So 8 questions. And on the screen, the questions are going to come on the screen. And it might be an opening line. It might be a quote from a book. It might be kind of just a clue for a book. They're all book titles. Okay. Because we're talking about stories today. All right. Now, in your classrooms, when I put this on the screen and I've read it out, you can, well, teacher, you can decide how you play it. But I would guess the first people in your class to put their hands up with the right answer are going to kind of win the point. Okay, so it's just a bit of fun. Now, in the studio here, we have Lucy and Tom, who are like really up for it. They're really excited about it. Okay, now, so I know which one of them goes first. They have, I didn't know this before. Look, they come armed with instruments. I said at the beginning of the trip, maybe a guitar you could play. And then from the side, they both just produced, well, not both guitars, but stringed instruments. So for the buzzer sound, should we have Tom? Let's have your buzzer sound first. What's your buzzer sound, Tom? Beautiful. Okay. And Lucy?
I'm going to go a bit more simple.
Okay.
I'm going with 1 string. So you can easily differentiate.
No, that's very, very good. Okay, so Tom again has got the sort of chord action, and Lucy with the one ding kind of on the. Okay. So once I put the question up, okay, obviously Tom and Lucy, obviously the first one go first. However, don't answer the question straight away, because we're going to give a few seconds for the schools to kind of catch up before we do it. Okay, so are you ready in your classrooms? Teachers, are you ready? Okay, then you can play on your own, play in pairs, play in groups, whatever's a bit of fun for you. Okay, so remember, they're all book titles. So are we ready? Tom, Lucy. Okay, here we go. So this first one we kick off is a quote. Okay, it's a quote from a story. You have to guess the story. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Let me read it out. And then he ate all the biscuits and all the cake until there was nothing left on the table. Okay, that's Tom. Hold it, Tom, for a minute. So in your classrooms, do you know? Okay, now I'm going to give you a little clue. Tom thinks he's already got it. Okay. The clue is a very polite visitor turns up at tea time. Okay. Got that in your classroom. So the answer, hopefully Tom's got it. Tom, what is the book title?
The Tiger Who Came to Tea.
Correct, Tom. A round of applause. The tiger who came to tea. You got the idea now in your classrooms. Brilliant stuff. Okay. Once again, for the second question, we also have a quote from a famous book, a picture book as well, that we should all know as well. Okay, here we go. I'll be ready. Question 2. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Oh, Lucy. I think that was Lucy. Okay, hold it there, Lucy. So in your classrooms, what a beautiful day. We're not scared. I'll give you a clue just in case you want it. Okay, the clue is they can't go over it and they can't go under it. That's kind of got it now, isn't it? Okay, so Lucy, what is the book title, please?
We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one.
We're going on a bear hunt. Fantastic. How do you get on in your classrooms? Good. We're going on a bear hunt. Okay. Now, this next one is a sort of a series kind of question, a character question, but a series question. Okay. So you've got to come up with the, it's the book title still. Okay. But it's a different kind of question. Here we go. Here we go. Are we ready? In your classroom. Are we ready, Lucy? Are we ready, Tom? Here we go. Miss Cackle's Academy is in which book series by Jill Murphy? Well, I think that was Lucy with the ding just before. Okay. Miss Cackle's Academy. Can't say them. Miss Cackle's Academy is in what book series by Jill Murphy? I'll give you a clue in your classrooms. She's a witch, but not exactly the best witch. Okay. So, Lucy, what is the book title?
The Worst Witch.
Good, and the series. Very, very good, Lucy. Fantastic stuff. Okay. And you start feeling good about yourself, don't you? It's nice, isn't it? It's a nice feeling. Okay, so question 4 is another quote for question 4. Okay, here we go. So, hope you're doing well in your classrooms. You're enjoying this. Okay, so question 4. I am beige and I am proud. That's a hard one. It's from a picture book, very famous one. Do you want a clue? So, see if you've got any classroom. And I give you a clue. This is for Tom and Lucy. Okay, so it's told through letters written by crayons.
Oh.
Okay, in your classrooms, there's your clue. It's told by letters written by crayons. And Lucy?
Is it the day the crayons quit?
It is indeed the day the crayons quit. So round of applause and round of applause in your classrooms if you got that one right. Okay, here we go. So we've got 4 left. We're halfway now. Okay, excuse me. Okay, this is another quote. So this is not from a picture, but this is actually from a novel. I'll give you a clue. It was made into a film, and it's a famous book as well. Here we go. So, you can't blend in when you were born to stand out.
Ooh.
That's a difficult one. You can't blend in when you were born to stand out. Anyone in the classroom knows that? So Lucy may have it, but I'm going to give you a clue, okay? And this clue should kind of do it for you, okay? Augie starts school and everyone learns about kindness. Okay, there's your clue. Lucy, do we know the book title?
Is it Wonder?
It is indeed Wonder by, I think it's R.J. Palacio or R.J. Palacio. Very, very good. Lucy, very, very good again. Okay, right. Question 6 is a bit of a cryptic clue, okay? Again, it's the book title. So there'll be, you have to guess the book title from this clue. Here we go. So question 6. They don't buy anything. They don't own anything. They borrow it from the people living above them. Which book is it? Oh, Tom, I think that is you, Tom. Okay. So I'll give you a clue in your classrooms. Okay, the clue is the word borrow. Okay, that should give you a clue to the title. Tom, what is the book title?
Is it The Borrowers?
It is indeed The Borrowers, Tom. Fantastic stuff. Okay, you're doing really, really good. Now the next two are actually quite tough. Okay, so let's see how you get on in your classrooms and see how Tom and Lucy get on as well. Here we go. So question 7. There is no lake at Camp Green. Oh, look at that, straight in there. Lucy's that's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. Did you get that? So there is no lake at Camp Green Lake. Okay, I'll give you a clue in your classrooms in case you're completely stuck, and maybe this will see some hands coming up in case there's no one there. Okay, so a boy gets sent somewhere to dig holes all day. There's your clue. Lucy, what is the book title?
It's Holes by Louis Sacco. It's a brilliant
It is.
book.
Holes indeed. Fantastic. Okay. And the last one, I think, is probably the most difficult one of all. Okay. But it's from a very famous book and a famous book series, but it's quite a difficult one. It's an opening line with a blank word. Okay. So you've got to basically figure out 2 things here. What is the blank word? Ooh. And then what is the book title. So that's a little bit harder. What is the blank word and what is the book title? So in your classrooms, if like a group gets one but not the other, you can give them a point for one and or a point for the other, whatever they get, or 2 points if they get them both right. Okay, here we go for the last one. So this is an opening line. Look, I didn't want to be a... That's a hard one. So you got to come up with the blank and the book title. I'm going to give you a clue. Here's the clue. Okay, the clue is Greek myths are real. Oh, we can't do it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is here. So let's do the book title. So is it the book title you're going for, Lucy, or is it the actual?
Yeah, it's the book title.
And Tom, is it the same for you? The book title?
Well, I can do the series. I can't do the actual title.
Yeah,
So
I'm the same.
Okay. So off you go. Lucy, what do you think it is?
So I think it's Percy Jackson.
It is indeed Percy Jackson.
I don't know what the missing word is.
It's from
Hero.
the Lightning Thief, so that's fine. Okay. And the missing word is look, I didn't want to be a half-blood.
Wow.
So round of applause and give Tom and Lucy a big round of applause as we finish up our Guess the Story. Here we go. Okay, brilliant. Well done. That's fantastic. So, Tom, it's time for us to say goodbye to Tom Moorhouse. Where the Dragon Waits is out now, of course. Thanks very much for being with us today, Tom. We're going to continue. Let's give Tom a big round of applause. Any final words, Tom, you want to say? Anything at all?
Yeah, dissimulation.
Dissimulation. That is the end of the day. Thanks, Tom. Thank you very much for being on.
Doubling down on the dissimulation. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, so Tom has gone to dissimulate somewhere else, and it's now me and myself and Lucy. Okay, so Lucy, you obviously wrote loads of books, of course, and we're going to talk today a little bit about The Storm and the Minotaur, but a couple of other books may leak in there as well, as it's storytelling week, and you've written lots of stories. But for The Storm and the Minotaur, could you give us like a sort of a 30-second kind of intro to what the story's about and the characters in it and all the rest of it? So let me hand over to you for that. Here we go.
So this is The Storm and the Minotaur, and it is beautifully illustrated by Pam Smyth. It's about a boy called George, and it is set about 200 years ago when a lot of children in this country had to work. And George works in a coal mine with his family. And this story is set when there is a terrible storm and the coal mine floods. And George and all the other children who work in the coal mine think there's no way out, until George sees the ghost of a Minotaur down there in the dark labyrinth of the coal mine. And the children get to find out whether the Minotaur is really a monster or if he can possibly lead them to safety.
I love that. And that kind of really ties into what you were saying about taking something real and then adding this sort of other element to it. So a lot of your books are like that, where you have this incredible sort of setting and thereby, because it's historical and based in real life, and then you create this amazing atmosphere around it, and tension around it. What did you most want readers to feel kind of approaching this particular story? Because if I'm right in thinking, is it a Barrington Stoke book? Is it?
It is. It's a Barrington Stoke, so it's a quick to read. It's really accessible, dyslexia friendly.
Fantastic. So these are great books, Barrington Stoke books. I'm sure the teachers are aware of them, but if not, go seek them out if you're not read much, because they're really, you have to pack an awful lot in quite a small number of words. So they're great books to start with. So what did you kind of want readers to kind of feel reading this book and sort of take away from it in that sense?
I think so. It's part of a collection of 3 books that I've done for Barrington Stoke. So there's Storm and the Minotaur, The Mermaid in the Mill Pond, and The River Spirit, and they all kind of tie in with that Key Stage 2 theme of looking at the Victorians or the Industrial Revolution, the 19th century. I wanted to write about children who had to work and what life was actually like for them. And this one particularly is based on a real tragedy that happened, the Huskar Pit disaster, which happened in 1838, in which a coal mine flooded in Yorkshire and in which 26 children actually died, drowned underground. And it's a terrible story and a tragic story. But but what I wanted was, I think, to first of all to help today's children to connect with this world of 200 years ago, and how different life was in a country in which children, not all children, were entitled to an education, and a lot of children had lives that were actually really, really difficult and really miserable, because they were forced to work, often in terrible, terrible conditions. But I mean, we're talking about stories into the darkness, and we've got the underground darkness of the coal mine here. And for George and his sister and some of the children who he's able to gather with him, it's very much a story of hope. It's a story of finding a way through that darkness.
Well, you spoke about the history and the history element. What does adding something like the Minotaur, which most children would be familiar with as a monster, even if they haven't actually read the myth itself, what does adding that particular creature, like in all that series in particular, bring to a real historical situation? So what, in a way, what does the myth do that straight realism can't, although you've got the two together, kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because so I found this I've talked about using a nugget of history. I found this nugget of history and I thought, wow, this is a story that needs to be told. This is a story I want to tell. And you're absolutely right, Mr. Dilly. I could have just written that story straight. I could have told the story of what happened to those children in that coal mine. But that's kind of not the sort of story that I love to tell. For me, bringing a little bit of magic in there, bringing the possibility that there is, down there in the labyrinth of the coal mine, there's a mythical monster down there in the darkness, that only George can see. And I think bringing that little bit of magic and mythology to a real world story somehow, for me, just wakes it up. It fills it with possibility. It kind of sparks the imagination, I think, in a way that that perhaps just a straightforward retelling of the facts wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, and it points in all different directions, doesn't it, for children to sort of go and explore after as well, history, the mythology in the past,
as well.
the present, which is brilliant. So the theme, as we said, and you mentioned it and mentioned it a few times, is speaking stories into darkness. The dark, if you like, and obviously you could have the physical thing of the dark of them being underground in the story, but the sort of the dark of the unknown, a bit like I spoke to Tom about. How do you make that feel sort of mysterious and kind of meaningful, rather than just kind of scary for young readers? Obviously, there's a scary bit to it, and we all like that sort of feeling up to a point of being scared. But how do you kind of give it the sort of the mystery and the meaning without just the kind of being completely terrified by it for a younger age range in that sense?
Yeah, I think there are many interpretations of darkness, as you say, and I do think it's important. I think we all want that feeling of peril and danger and excitement because of how that grips us and how that engages us with the story. But you're right in that we don't want it ever to be nightmarish. I think that is important. But there are different sorts of darkness within stories like this. As you say, in this story, we've got the literal darkness of the underground. But we have the darkness that can come with stories that are about sadness and grief, and there's sadness in this story. We've also got darkness, and in this whole collection of stories, the darkness of being powerless, which is what all these children are in a way. They don't get to make the choices about their lives, about their identity, about their future. They don't get to have that control. They don't have that autonomy about their lives, and that powerlessness, I think, is a sort of darkness, and it's a sort of darkness that we often address in children's literature, I think.
Fantastic, really good answer. That's brilliant. We've got a school question for you, which kind of links to the monster element. It's quite a difficult question, actually. It's a good question. Okay. Penkridge Middle School, Staffordshire. Thank you. What's the best literary monster ever created? Ever created, and obviously for you. Yeah, thanks. It's a great question. I don't know what you think in your classrooms. That's kind of like a tricky one, isn't it? The best one ever. Okay. I don't know. What do you think?
Whatever. That's in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Penkridge Middle School, Staffordshire.
Yeah.
So I love those mythical monsters. I love the Minotaur. I've got to do something with Medusa in at some point.
Yeah.
At some point, because she's brilliant.
Yeah.
There's also a very, very brilliant and very powerful book called A Monster Calls, in which the monster is a representation of grief and of fear. And that is particularly brilliant. It's a very, very moving story. I think perhaps because the monster is never true, we don't ever really see it in its. There's a lot that's left to our imaginations, if you see what I mean. We never fully really see or fully understand what that monster is. So perhaps the best sorts of literary monsters are those in which our imagination adds something to it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And this ties in with your own writing in schools, you know. So you haven't got to have all the answers. You haven't got to explain the whole monster, have you? You can leave it mysterious as you go through. So that's brilliant. Okay, so let's go back to the Storm and the Minotaur. Can you give us a little reading from the book, Lucy?
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Here we go.
Yes, let's. So I'm going to read to you a little bit. George is working underground with his father, and this is the moment. This is the moment in which the mine starts to flood. He doesn't know that yet. I feel sick to my stomach. It isn't just because I'm down here in the mine again. There's something else too. It's to do with that dream I had last night, the Minotaur and the labyrinth. I feel as if the dream is somehow still there in my mind. I keep catching glimpses of it in the corners of my thoughts. And then I see him, the Minotaur. I'm working with Dad in an old part of the mine. We've been at it a couple of hours now, I think. It's hard to tell. Time moves differently underground. Everyone else has been moved off into new tunnels to work on fresh stretches of the coalface. They've left Dad to pick out the remaining coal here. He is hacking at the last scraps of the seam with his pick, and I am shoveling coal into a cart. There is no one else near us. I don't hear anything. It is more of a feeling. My skin prickles and a cold shiver washes over me. I turn around and see the Minotaur standing there in the gloomy tunnel behind me. I can see the shape of him, vast and silvery black in the darkness. His horns are pale as moonlight. His eyes are like pools of shining ink. I gasp. I don't have time to say anything at all. I blink and squint into the darkness, and the Minotaur has gone. You all right, George? Dad asks. His voice makes me jump. I'm so lost in my dream of the Minotaur. What is it, lad? Then I see something else, right where the Minotaur was standing. Something moving on the wall. It's water. Not just the usual trickling dampness you get down the mine. There's a great, silent sheet of water flooding down. I look at my boots. Dad, I say, and he looks down too. Water is gathering around our feet, a lake that's as black as oil, deep and gleaming. We need to get out, son, he says.
Brilliant. I love that. That's wonderful. You get a real good sense of that combination of history and real life and the myth as well, which is fantastic. Okay, so I think we've frozen up here. Something's frozen up. Right. Okay, so we're going to carry on. Sorry about the Emma Lucy there. Obviously, the feed dropped out there. So now, one of the best ways into stories is actually through drawing, I think, and because when you draw a creature, you can start and asking different questions. You're like, where does it live? What does it want? What's it afraid of? That kind of things as well. So I'm going to little draw along with Thiago de Moraes. He's the author of Old Gods, New Tricks and many other books. And he's going to be drawing the creature Cerberus, who's the kind of the three-headed dog into the underworld. Quick note, if you're drawing this, you can draw along live. If you've got a pen and pencil there, you can catch up with it. There's a part of the draw along where it kind of speeds up a little bit. And on that bit, you can go back and watch that at your own pace on this same link as well. So it's about 6 minutes long. After that, we have the map making with Kieran, and then it's the end of the show. So enjoy this from Thiago. Here we go.
Thanks, Mr Dilly. Hi, I'm Thiago, and this is Old Gods, New Tricks. It's a story of a girl called Trixie. When electricity disappears from the world, she gets together a team of trickster gods from all sorts of different cultures, like Maui and Ishu and Sun Wukong and Loki. And together they go on a great adventure trying to find it. The book is full of monsters and creatures from different mythologies. And I thought it'd be fun if you drew one of them. We're going to draw Cerberus. Cerberus is the guardian of Hades, which is the underworld of ancient Greek and Roman mythology. And he's a huge dog with 3 heads. He's very scary. But in the book, he's just hungry, so he doesn't really attack Trixie after she gives him some snacks. So I thought we'd draw a fun version of Cerberus together. Let's go. I'm going to start with the nose, and I'm going to make the nose just like this slightly flattened round shape. Then at the bottom, we're going to draw the mouth. And the mouth is just one big, slightly elongated semicircle. We want the mouth to be open, as if he's going to try to bite us or something. And at the bottom, we just do another line like this. Now, it's a big scary dog, so we need some fangs. And they're just triangles, so let's do big fangs at the top, really big fangs like this. And you can connect them to smaller teeth, and they're also little triangles. So I'm going to do 4, you can do however many you want. And the same at the bottom. Big fangs on either side, and then little spiky teeth connecting them. And then because he's got his mouth open so wide, we want to show a little bit of his tongue. So that's just like a little curved shape in the middle like this, behind the teeth. So we've got his mouth and his nose. Now we're going to draw the first head's shape. And to draw it, you just follow the line of the mouth, sideways like this, and do a little curve at the bottom. And you can do it on either side, on both sides. And then we're going to connect them, the little kind of hairy bits for the chin. Now for the eyes, we're just going to do some semicircles on either side. So one on the left and one on the right. And then we're going to draw the pupils in the middle, one here and one there. It still looks a little bit scared, it doesn't look scary. So we're going to draw these kind of angry lines on top of his eyes like this. And all of a sudden he looks a lot more scary. Maybe some eyebrows would help as well. So let's just do 2 spiky eyebrows. And I like drawing little lines on the eyebrows, a little bit extra hairy. Oh, he's a dog, so he's missing something. He's missing his ears. And I'm going to give him flumpy ears. So that's just one straight line and a little curve like that. And maybe you can draw the middle and a little left line. Same thing on the other side. So we've got the first head for our servants. And now let's draw the body before we draw the other hand. And it is pouncing. What we can do is draw 2 big paws coming at us. So you go up and you go down like this with a simple shape. And then you can draw some claws coming out. So it's 1 paw, another paw, and we've got the 2 paws of our Cerberus, and you connect them back to where the body is going to be. So there's just 2 straight lines. And then we're going to do like a round body. Nobody says what type of dog Cerberus was. And I think, you know, I like to think it was a giant pug. This doesn't look like a pug, but I think it'd be quite funny if it was a pug. So we're going to draw the body and then 2 legs at the back. Once again, he's kind of bouncy, so his legs are going to be base ready to jump. So we've got 1 leg and then the other leg doing 3 sort of toes in his feet. And doing some claws on his feet as well. Because he's a dog, maybe he has a little bit of hair here, and he's got a little line for his tummy, which always makes it look a bit more doggy. So we've got 1 head now, and the whole body. Let's start doing the other heads, and the other heads are going to be looking sideways. So the first thing we're going to do is draw the mouths, and they're going to be open. So the right mouth is going to be open like this. And remember how we did the fangs? We're going to do the same thing on this side. So 1 big fang, a few in the middle to connect them, and then we're going to do the same at the bottom. 1 big fang, a few in the middle to connect them, and the other big fang there. And these are going to be sort of 3/4. So we're going to draw them slightly different from the front one head. So first we're going to do, second now we're going to draw the tongue, and here some lines. The nose is going to be the same. It's just like some sort of kind of vaguely circular shape. Then we're going to show the eyes on the side here, like we had there, a big line on top. And the side of the face coming here. And the same thing for the ears. Not having to go backwards like that. Draw a little bit in the middle. And the eyebrow. It was almost the same thing, but we're just showing from a slightly different angle. I want to show a bit of the other eye there, the other eyebrow. And then finish the kind of jaw there, and maybe show a little bit of the neck. So we've got the second head next to our first head. And finally, we're going to draw the third head. So we're going to do the same thing, but on the other side. So we're going to start with the shape of the mouth, which is open like that. The fangs. And then the fangs at the bottom. Big tongue. and the lines that close the mouth. Like this. Then we're going to have his nose. Continue doing exactly what you did on the other side, but sort of inverted. So the neck connects there. Then we're going to have his ear on the side. And there you go, this is our Cerberus. I hope you enjoyed drawing our fun, silly Cerberus. Thanks a lot for watching. It's goodbye. Back to you, Mr. Dilly.
We're nearly done. We've got the map making kind of thing with Kieran now. But this is for you to have a go at after the show. This video shows you how to do it. Now, you'll see it starts with, oddly, a bowl of rice, which you don't have to use. Kieran will explain how you can use it if you want to, okay? So because you've got your creature, maybe Thiago's draw-alongs inspired you about a creature or making your own creature, but now you've got to put it in a world and maybe then write your story from this world, okay? So different ways to get into it. So here we go, Kieran Larwood with his map-making kind of tutorial, about 6 minutes, then it's the end of the show. Try and stay with us if you can. Here we go.
Yeah, so this is just a little tip. Sometimes when I do this in schools, some children find it tricky to draw kind of a really good outline of the coast for their maps. So this is a tip you can use if you think you might find that tricky, and that is you just get a cup of dry rice, not cooked rice, because that will just splat on your page. You pour a little bit onto your page, and then with your finger just kind of nudge it like I have there into the shape of an island or a landmass. And then next slide please, Mr. Dilly. Then you get your pencil and you draw very carefully around all those grains of rice, really carefully all the way around, even like the individual ones on the side, draw around those. And then when you finish that, if you just tip the rice away very carefully, you're left with an amazing outline. But if you don't have rice, or if you think you're confident enough to do it yourself, you can just draw this kind of outline on a page. It doesn't matter if you have your page portrait or landscape. You just get your pencil and then you just do that outline. You've all seen maps and you've seen how they go, the coastline goes in and out. So let your pencil kind of go for a walk in and out, form all the outline of the map. So that's going to be your world. And then this is a pro tip. You can make it 3D if you like. And the way you do that is if you go to the bottom left-hand corner, and every time there's a little bump on your map, you draw a little line down, and you do that all the way around on the bottom left-hand corner, and then you kind of join them up underneath. You follow the line of the coastline underneath, and you can make it 3D. That's like a pro tip. You don't have to do that. So then the next bit is you have to add the features to your world, the kind of the geographical features. So quite often things like mountain ranges. So mountains often go in a line with like a range. You can see I've done some on there. Forests. I've left a space in the middle of my forest there because I'm going to write the name of the forest on it. Deserts, marshes, hills. You can anything you like: volcanoes, deserts, caves, canyons, whatever you want to have on your world. Draw them all on. I think the next slide I've got some. Yeah. So here I've got. On the left-hand side there's like the very basic ones. If you're not very confident at art, the good thing about doing maps is you don't have to be an amazing artist. You can just do it really basically, really simply, and you still can use it to come up with a really good story. So the basic ones are on the left, and then the kind of more advanced versions, if you've got a bit more time or you want to make it more detailed, are on the right. So all the ones I said on there. So mountains, hills, swamps and marshes. For the towns and cities, I usually just do like a dot if it's a village, or a dot with a circle around it for a town, and like a star or a square for a city. And then what you do is you also add a key onto your maps. If you put symbols like that on, you can put a key on the side to say what all the symbols mean. So you draw them all on, and then the tricky bit is naming everything. So my tip is think about who or what is going to be living in your fantasy world. So for example, with Podkin, I knew it was going to be rabbits. So when I was naming the countries, I just went on Google and I looked up all the different breeds of rabbit. There's loads. I was surprised at how many there are. And I just picked out some ones that I thought sounded really cool. That sounded like countries. And I used those for Gotland and Enderby. They're all actually breeds of rabbit. But here I've thought about, I'm going to have dragons living in the top part of my world. So another top tip for thinking of good fantasy names is if you know the Latin name for the creature, you can use that to kind of come up with a fantasy sounding name. So the Latin name for dragon is Draco. So I've called my country at the top there Dracovia, and I've written it on with nice big capital letters. And then the country at the bottom there, I'm going to have pigs living there. And Latin for pig is pork with a C. So that's Porcutia. And then because I've got a volcano on the island down the bottom there, I've called that Ignica, because Ignis is Latin for fire. So I've come up with some really good fantasy sounding names. Already I'm starting to have a bit of a story appear in my head, like maybe like the dragons are going to be the baddies and the pigs are going to be the heroes, and perhaps the pigs are going to have to go up there into Dracovia. I'm kind of building a little bit of story in my head. But then I need to name all the features that I drew on, and that's really tricky to come up with good names. So my tip for that is to use adjectives. So, for example, the mountains there, I thought some adjectives for mountains. I thought they could be spiky, or they could be rocky. So I've got two adjectives, and I'm going to put those together to make the Spike Rock Mountains. And my forest there, I wanted like a dark, foreboding forest. So I thought gloomy is a really good adjective for that, and leafy as well. So I'm going to put those together, and I've got the gloom leaf forest, and the desert, fiery, I was thinking, and sandy. I've got the fire sand desert. So think of two good adjectives, put them together to come up with your names. And for seas are tricky. I've used colours for seas are really good. So I've got the cyan sea up there. You could have the turquoise sea or the viridian sea, or any other kind of blue or green colour you could think of. And then you need to put where your characters live. So I've added the dots on there for the little towns and cities. My tip for naming those is, again, think of who's going to live there, what kind of creatures are going to live there. And then think about the endings. If you think of all the places around you, lots of them have very similar endings. So, for example, lots of them end in things like Ham or Hampton or Wick or Bridge or Mouth if it's near a river, or Port if it's on the coast. So for where my dragons live, I thought, what do dragons do? They breathe fire. So I've got a Fire Wick. And what else do dragons have? Dragons have scales. So I've got Scale Port. And for my pigs, they oink. So I've got Oinkham there, and they eat swill. Pigs eat swill, so I've got Swillmouth there by the river. So go through, put some places where your characters live, give them all names, and then the final part is you can add lots of little details to your map. So I've put like a compass rose on there. I've put some dotted lines to show the roads that link all my towns up together. I've put some sea monsters in the sea. I think here's some extra things you can add on just to give it that final finishing touch. And then, you might want to do it just as a kind of an art project, or you might want to sit down and then start building up a story about that map you've created, that world.
Look at that brilliant map making from Kieran there. I hope that's kind of inspires you today. That brings us to the end of this National Storytelling Week 2026 special. Thank you very much to Lucy Strange and, of course, Tom and, of course, Thiago and Kieran there as well. All their books are available for your reading pleasure now to jump into the world. Lastly, your mission is, should you choose to accept it, my friends, tell a tiny story today. Draw a creature, maybe your sketch a world of sort. Write a beginning, share it with someone, then listen to them tell and share their stories. And together we will speak story into darkness. Thank you very much for watching today. Thank you for your teachers for booking me into your schools and classrooms. My name is Mr Dilly, and it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from me. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.